Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Collar Dirtbagger, your home for bikepacking and ultradistance cycling with a blue collar perspective. So today I'm just going to give you a brief little rundown, introductory video about what the channel is going to be about, tell you about myself and what got me into biking, a little bit of my biking history, and if we have time I'll show you the bikes that you're going to see in the videos this year. So name's Jesse, live in New Jersey. I'm 28 years old, commercial fence installer. I've been at the same company now for August is going to be 17 long years. Edit number 2. This knucklehead forgot to bring up his family. He's too busy talking about himself and what's going to be on the channel. Yeah, I got 17-year-old son, Jesse Jr., who's, I wouldn't say all grown up, but he's getting there. Time goes fast, so when your kids are young, enjoy it while you can. Yeah, so I don't got to deal with all the little kid stress and stuff of running kids around here and there. He drives himself around now. Now I just got to deal with the stress of him being on the road, where he's at, what he's doing, since he never wants to talk to me anymore. It's sad when they grow up and they become somewhat independent. He still needs constant reminders, though. Put his dishes in the dishwasher, do your laundry, the usual 17-year-old kid stuff. And you got my beautiful wife, Heather. We've been together now going on 13 years and married going on 7 years. If it wasn't for her and her support, chasing my bike dreams wouldn't be possible. Let's be real. I mean, how many people's spouses just let them disappear for a week at a time and live off their bike in the woods? So thanks to her for letting me chase my dreams. Yeah, I got to splice this in this video somewhere now. Oops. Sorry, guys. Love you. I got into biking at a really young age. I was big into BMX. I raced at the BMX track, at least for, I would say, 2 to 4 years. And I was pretty good, to the point where I got a sponsorship at a young age to ride for the local bike shop in Somerville, the old Somerville Cyclery. But as my sisters got older, they wanted to play sports and stuff too. The time just wasn't there to be at the track every weekend anymore. So that kind of faded away. I got more into still in the street freestyle stuff and a little bit of dirt stuff in the woods locally and just pretty much riding around having fun with my buddies like kids used to do in the 90s. God bless the 90s. So as I got older, I wasn't exercising, wasn't taking care of myself really well. I found myself at the age of 22, 23, I was weighing in well over 300 pounds. I found myself at 25 just deciding that I had to do something with myself and do something with myself fast. Got into the gym, was hitting the elliptical hard every day, treadmill running, and then lifting weights every day. Dropped a bunch of weight. A friend of mine had told me that somebody we had went to school with got into mountain biking. So I hooked up with him, started riding with him. And after that, it's all history, baby. You can't get me away from the mountain bike now. I got into racing pretty quick. Probably my second year into mountain biking, I got into the race scene. I was doing all the local H2H races. I did I started Cat 3. And then after Cat 3, I decided I wasn't even going to do Cat 2 or Cat 1. I like the ultra distance stuff, so I wouldn't even call that really ultra X, more the endurance stuff. So I was racing the 4-hour endurance category, which I did pretty good in. 2021, I found out about the NUE series and all the 100-mile mountain bike races, which really caught my eye. So I chased the NUE 2021, ended up doing really good in the series for your average Joe construction worker. I think I finished 4th in the series 2021. 2022, I kind of pulled back a little bit after. I did plan on chasing the NUE again, but I did good at the Mohican. The Wilderness, I had gotten really sick. I ended up switching to nutrition products I was using, which is a big mistake. You never do. When you find something that works, don't stop using it. Which I was using Carbo Rocket for as long as I could remember. And then 2022, I decided to try something else. And it just didn't work with my gut. And I found myself 3.5, 4 hours in every race, just puking my brains out. So I pulled out of the NUE after making it halfway through the Wilderness 101, and I just couldn't stop puking, so I had to quit. So to chase series points, I would have had to travel too far, and I couldn't get the time off of work to get a fourth race in. So that pretty much ended the NUE for me that year. I kept doing all our local endurance category races. Did good in the series. I think every year in the H2H, I finished second behind Mr. Nelson Oderman. Dang it. 2023, I decided to take a year off the bike. Let myself go a little bit, packed on a bunch of weight, went from about 175 all the way up to maybe 225. The end of 2023, I got a message from somebody I went to middle school. We barely went to school. Our time in town overlapped just a little bit. I had just moved to town, and he was just moving out of town. But Anthony Droz, he reached out because a buddy of mine had told him that I was big into mountain biking. And that crazy guy, no bike experience at all, was going down to Costa Rica to do La Ruta to fundraise for veterans with PTSD to get them in a retreat program with the 21's Veteran Association. So he had reached out. He was good friends with the guy that owns Spartan. So long story short, after I gave him all the information I had about endurance racing, fueling on the bike, what he should carry for the event, he opened up with an invitation for me to come out, and I couldn't pass it up. It was too sweet of a deal. I pretty much just had to cover my airfare, and I got to go and do the event. So long story short, I offered to help him fundraise. I don't know how big of a help I was, but I put the word out there as much as I could to help fundraise for the veterans. And met him in Costa Rica. I want to say that was the first week of December in 2023. Out of shape. The only thing I could do, there was no point. I signed up, like he gave me the invitation maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the event. So there was no way to train for it, nothing. The only thing I could do is because of the time change, the races started so early in the morning, each stage, that I was just waking up at 3 o'clock every morning before work and getting on the trainer just to accustom myself to getting up that early and being on the bike. That was the only thing I could do to prepare myself. There was no getting in shape. You can't ride yourself into shape in 3 weeks' notice. So went down there, had a blast. At the time, my mom had just got done battling breast cancer. So I put a bunch of breast cancer stickers on my bike to remind me of, the struggles I was going to go through on the bike those 3 days. They're nothing compared to what mom was going through at the time. So that helped me a lot. There was a lot of times during that. Those climbs were no joke. The heat was no joke. And being out of shape, carrying around all that extra weight, it made it really hard for me. But every time I looked down and seen the stickers for my mom, it just gave me the motivation to push through it. So needless to say, when I crossed that finish line on the other coast of Costa Rica, it brought tears to my eyes. It was, even now it's choked me up. It was a very emotional finish for me. So I got back home, and the whole thing Anthony did, not having any mountain bike experience and going out there and fundraising like that, taking himself totally out of his comfort zone to do something to help other people. I was really moved by it. So I decided when I got back, you know what, with the struggles mom was just going through, I decided I was going to spend the next year and find some of the hardest things I could on the bike and go out and do them. And while I do them, fundraise for the National Breast Cancer Association since it hits close to home. So within 2 weeks of being home, I started digging, looking for some of the longest races I could find. The first one I found was the Unbound XL. And unfortunately, the lottery had already happened, but I lucked out. I found a guy that, I won't put any names out there or anything, but pretty much I found a way into the Unbound XL. Some loopholes to get myself in there. So I got into the Unbound XL, and right away, once I signed up for it, it was game time. I did everything I had to do to prepare for it. I came up with simulation routes that I made from home with the same amount of elevation, same amount of distance. And I wanted to go 100% fully prepared, knowing that I've already done this and I could do it again. Went down there. I didn't set a record or anything, but for me, you know, being out of shape like I was the year before and making a total comeback, I finished the XL in, I want to say, just around 26 hours, which I was more than happy with. I thought it was going to take me anywhere from 30 to 35 hours. After that, I didn't have really any plans except for I was signed up in September to do the Endless Mountains gravel route with my buddy Tom. So I got back from that. I ended up doing the 12 Hours of Port Jervis race, which is a local 12-hour race that DJ puts on from Starcroft Promotions. Awesome race. I go, not every year, but I try to make it out there every year as long as I got the time to do it. But, you know, work is rough. Life is rough. You don't always have time to do stuff every year. Did that. I didn't know what else I was going to do the rest of the year other than Endless Mountains. So I just kept bike packing, keeping myself in shape, doing 150 to 250 mile one push rides on the weekends when I wasn't working. And then I want to say 3 weeks before the day of the event, I seen that the Breck Epic was having instead of doing the 5 or 6 day stage race, they made an option that year. It was the first year they did it to do all the stages in one push. They called it the Mega Epic. And I was like, oh yeah, that does sound mega epic. So here I am 3 weeks before an event. I was like, well, you know what? I got the base training for it. I've never been at altitude in my life. I live at sea level in New Jersey. But I was like, oh, how bad could it be? Signed up, booked a plane ticket, rented a truck. Again, I got super lucky. I met 2 awesome dudes. I'm sorry, the one guy I can't remember. The other one, Ryan, who I still talk to. They offered me a spot to sleep in the townhouse they had rented to do the stage race. They let me sleep before my event and when I finished the event. So I got a free place to stay, so it didn't cost me too much money, just a rental truck and the plane tickets. So I went out there and had an awesome time. It was an amazing experience. The altitude, I mean, I didn't have the same power. Breathing was a little hard. But the biggest thing, I flew out the day before the event. I mean, I had a killer headache the whole time. That's the worst thing that it did to me, but it was nothing I couldn't push through. So there was only 3 of us dumb enough to do it that year. The one guy ended up, he got support from his parents. He was a young kid, and we had some nasty thunderstorms and stuff during the event. Me and Yuki, we kept it totally 100% self-supported. So, I mean, I got a plaque upstairs that says I finished second, but it's only because only 2 of us were self-supported because Chase kicked our asses with support. Like, he beat us by a day, I think. So, after that, I was hooked. That immediately got me hooked on the whole bike packing scene and spending my time out in the woods. Even though I was doing some stuff locally over the years, there was nothing like that I've ever done before. It was an incredible experience. So after that, I came back, did the Endless Mountains, which let me tell you, Dave Landis does a phenomenal job with that event too. If you're anywhere in the Northeast, you want to check out an awesome bike packing event, go to it was inaugural the year I did it, but go to the Grand Depart of the Endless Mountains route. I heard since the year I did it, this past year, the Endless Mountains region, the whole community backs the event now to the point where there's trail magic and trail angels all over the course. People coming out, cheering you on, giving you food, helping you out with water and drinks and stuff. Really good time and a really hard route. Like I thought the Breck Epic Mega was hard. I'm sorry, but Endless Mountains, that was tough. It was a rough time on the bike for me. A lot of climbing. It's like climbing in a megalodon's mouth, just up and down, up and down. The second you're done climbing for a few miles, you just bomb down a rip and descent, and it goes so fast, and you're right into the next climb. and they're steep. I would say most climbs on that course are anywhere from 14 to maybe 23% grade. So they're not no nice little 5% grades. You're going straight up, baby. So that pretty much wrapped up my 2023. I ended up dealing with some fatigue issues. It turned out I had picked up Lyme disease over the year, and I had no idea about it. I just thought the fatigue was from all the events and bike packing and long distance stuff I was doing on top of working. Found out it was Lyme disease, probably a little bit too late. They put me on antibiotics anyway, which the antibiotics totally destroyed me. Led to more issues than the Lyme. Got introduced to a holistic practitioner out in Pennsylvania who was a godsend to me. Ever since I started working with her and doing everything that she's got me doing, I feel 100 times better. So the Lyme disease issues ran into almost halfway through this past year, through spring of 2025 and almost into summer of 2025 before I kind of started feeling like myself again. So I didn't do really anything this past year. I raced one short race. I did the short course option. I wouldn't even call it a win because, again, I think only 5 or 6 guys signed up. The course was so wet and muddy and raining that I got into the single track in first place. And once I stopped hearing brakes squealing behind me, I knew everybody was kind of holding back because the conditions were so bad. So I knew as long as I just kept going and going steady, nobody was going to catch up. After that, I didn't do anything. Just rode for fun pretty much. Tried to stay in decent shape, keep my baseline going. I ended up signing up. I found out about the Cohutta Cat 300, which is just November, a few months ago. I signed up for that, went down with my buddy Tom, who's kind of like my sidekick when it comes to going to these bike packing and ultra events. You'll see him probably in a lot of my videos. We went down there, and I have a big problem with being overzealous on these routes. I think we're going to get a lot more done than we are in a day. And that ended up being the case in Georgia as well. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Let me just say that. But it was an awesome time. Oh, backtrack. August. So there's a local route that was put out. It's called Soft Rocks Hard Times. That Conan from New York City came up with the route. Me and Tom, we did attempt to do that in August. It's good. It starts right down the road from me, about 15 minutes away in Lebanon, around Valley. And it's from Lebanon to New Haven, Connecticut. And it hits all the chunk from here to there. And if you've never ridden some of the stuff in New Jersey and New York State, let me tell you, I've ridden all different places, and our chunk is different. The Northeast, it'll beat you down. So, again, overzealous. We had days where, well, not days, but sections on that course where to go 10, 15 miles, I'm talking it'll take you 4 hours. 4 hours of just grinding your bike through boulders and stuff at 4 or 5 miles an hour, just beat down after beat down after beat down. We made it. That course is around 380, 390 miles. I think we made it to mile 290, and we ended up pulling the plug. We started on a Thursday or Friday after work at 6 p.m. Within the first 15 minutes going through Round Valley, we got a tsunami of downpours, trees falling down around us. The trails turned into rivers. Like the leaves and stuff were literally flowing down and getting stuck around our shoes. That's how bad the water was ripping down the trails. It was like walking through a river. So our feet were soaked immediately in the first 30 minutes. Everything was soaked. All our bags, even through the zippers, stuff got wet. We camped out the first night under a pavilion, which we slept pretty good because that night it got down to maybe 60 degrees. The second day, we opted, because it was a beatdown. We made it to mile, I want to say 110 on the course. It was probably about 9 or 10 at night. And we opted to go 3 miles off course since we were in soaking wet stuff all day. Got a hotel room, tried to make the best of it. The next day, we got overzealous again and pushed, maybe 120, 130 miles that day and made it all the way to Beacon, New York State on the course, which you climb up a monster fire road climb. And we were thinking that at the top of the climb, it would have been the perfect place to sleep. It was nice and windy, breezy. It wasn't too hot. But we're like, oh, we got a nice downhill all the way down to town, so let's just keep going. Nope. Conan screwed us. It was a bushwhack. To make it 2 or 3 miles down this descent, it took us 4 hours of bushwhacking our bikes down this hill in the middle of the night. It was awful. We ended up making it to the next town where there was no hotels. There was only one dinky little gas station that barely had anything to get something to eat and some drinks. And we tried sleeping at the high school football field in the bleachers. Well, that night it was about 96 degrees, like 90 to 100% humidity. So needless to say, we got no sleep. Some old man showed up at the track at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, right after we got there and laid down, and was running laps, walking around, checking our stuff out, looking at us sleeping on the ground there, probably wondering what the hell are these guys doing. So after about 2 hours of trying to lay there, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, we decided, screw this, let's just keep going. After no sleep, exhaustion, we pushed all the way through Blue Mountain and stuff and made it to, I don't remember the names of the towns there, but we ended up pretty much calling it quits. But we're like, oh, we found a hotel on the map. We're like, let's just go to the hotel and see what we do in the morning. We got to this hotel. I would never suggest anybody ever goes anywhere near this place. It was disgusting. Cigarette ashes on the floors, holes in the walls. It looked like there was blood stains in the shower. It was absolutely disgusting. But exhausted as we were, we freaking stayed there. The next morning, we decided, screw this. We jumped on a train and took a train back to my neighborhood where my wife picked us up at the train station. And then fast forward, we did Georgia, the Cohutta Cat 300. Awesome time, awesome trails, awesome route. Harder than I thought it was going to be, because some of the stuff on the route on Ride with GPS, it looked like it was just roads and gravel roads. No, they were minimum maintenance Forest Service roads. And they were tough. A lot of rolling hills, a lot of big mud puddles and stuff that you had to sneak around. So you were constantly, anytime you picked up momentum, you got to another section where you had to get off the bike and navigate around a 3-foot deep mud puddle. An awesome time though. We had fun. That one actually, we went down there not to race it, but just to actually get a good trip in, because soft rocks absolutely destroyed us. So we were like, we got to enjoy something this year. And that was pretty much it for last year, 2025. Well, I signed up. We had a local race that was late in the year. It was mid-November, end of November, the Frosty Woods MTB Challenge up at Ringwood. Again, for some reason, both events I did this year, it started off, it was snowing in the morning, and then it turned, by the second hour into the race, it was a 3-hour race. It turned from snow to sleet, and then by hour 2.5, hour 3, it was raining. And Ringwood is nothing but rocks, so it was slippery, treacherous. Did pretty good at that race. I finished second place. And yeah, that was pretty much it for last year. It took it pretty easy, pretty light. Did a couple hard things, nothing crazy. But I decided, this coming year, it's time to go out and do some of the things that I originally wanted to do last year. So I'm heading down to Florida in 3 weeks to do the Hurricane. Well, I guess it's the Hurricane 300, but I'm going to do the 400. I don't know if I could curse on YouTube or not. I'm going to do the Hurricane WTF 400 trail option. So it's 400 miles, like 120 miles of single track, a bunch of like forest roads and gravel roads. I think it's like 70% unpaved. You got to carry your bike through a couple swamps and rivers with no swimming signs, with alligators posted all over. So that should be interesting. Other than that, the big thing I want to do this year is I really want to get back to Colorado this year and take on the Colorado Trail Race. And if I have time to do something else, you know, I'll look into doing something else. Maybe if I'm lucky, it falls on my wife's birthday every year, so it's a tough one for me. Is I'd like to get out to Arizona to do that. If I don't do the 800 this year, at least go out and do the AZT 300 this year too, which would be an awesome year. And then just do some local stuff too. Probably I'll do the 12 hours of Port Jervis this year. It looks like Single Speed Worlds is coming to Port Jervis this year, so I'm gonna have to set one of these things up single speed and give it a shot. Edit number 3. Obviously, I'm new to talking to a camera, and I guess I'm learning something really quick that I should probably put a board or something behind the camera here with little notes and reminders of what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I missed one of my big 3 events. April, I'm also going down to do the Rockstar Trail Challenge down in Virginia, which is from, I want to say it's Harrisonburg to Roanoke. So that should be another awesome event and some nice training before I head to Colorado for the CTR. All right, 3rd and hopefully final edit add-in. Thanks, guys. Sorry. So yeah, that's pretty much my bike history and what got me into the whole bike packing thing. So then let's talk about... We got the bike history. I guess I could pull bikes over here in a second. Yeah, let's just go right to the bikes. So we'll start off with... let me tell you about the channel. So the channel, it's pretty much going to be lead up to events that I'm doing. I'll do breakdowns of what I'm carrying, what bags I'm going to use. I'll do some training insight, like how I train. Right now, this time of year in the Northeast, it's wintertime. I get laid off typically from January to early March. So right now I'm not working, which works in my favor with this stuff because I get all the time in the world I need to do a ton of base training for the first 2 months of the year, which has always worked out really well for me because I could build that strong base and then just kind of, when I start working 50, 60 hours a week in the spring, just kind of keep the fitness going, you know, build it and then just try to maintain it and not build up a crazy level of fatigue. So rest is really important for me. You'll notice, I mean, if you start following me on Strava and stuff, a lot of times during the week, I won't go outside. I just come down here to the dungeon, jump on the trainer, do anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours, whatever I feel like after work. Because, I mean, work's a beatdown for me. Installing commercial fence ain't easy, and it takes a toll on my body. But I want to say that it does, I think, it's what helps make me a strong endurance athlete, because every day I go to work and put my boots on, it's endurance from the time I leave the house to the time I get home. So I tell everybody all the time, like a 12-hour day at work is way worse than a 12-hour day on the bike. You know, the bike, I got a smile on my face ear to ear. Not all the time. There's a lot of moments where I ask myself, why do I do this to myself? I should be home laying down and taking it easy, but type 2 fun, right, guys? You know, it's all fun when we get to the finish line and you get to talk about it and tell people how you walk through a swamp with alligators or climb to a mountain that's 13,500 feet high in Colorado. It's what it's all about, the life experience. So we'll do gear breakdowns, event breakdowns. I'm going to try my best to film events. So we're going to see how that goes. I've never really done it before, but I think I'll do a pretty good job. The videos you see around the house and stuff are going to be raw, no edits, just me talking to the camera. I might throw in some pictures here, a picture there, nothing crazy. Hopefully I could try to keep the profanity out of it, because anybody that knows me, I got a potty mouth. So not cursing is something that's really hard for me not to do. So if you hear a couple bleeps here and there, yeah, it's probably me dropping the F-bomb quite a bit. So, all right, we'll start with the full suspension bike, which this is the bike that I actually got. This bike, only had it maybe 4 or 5 months because my original Epic 8 had some issues, and Specialized was nice enough to warranty it for me. Move some stuff out of the way. So this is my Epic 8, and a lot of you guys are probably going to think I'm freaking crazy. Like, what's this guy doing with flight attendant on his bike packing bike? Well, I ran it for Georgia, and at first I was skeptical about taking this bike as a warranty replacement with the flight attendant. But once I found out, like, if I do run out of batteries, which I carry extra, I carry chargers, I carry power banks, like, the batteries last 20 hours. I mean, Kohutta, I don't think I charged them more than a half hour for, I was on that course for close to 50 hours. I didn't charge them for more than a half hour. So I'm really not concerned with it. And the upside to it is if the batteries do die, the bike just automatically goes to full open. So for the kind of stuff I'm going to do this bike with this bike, it's not a big concern of mine. Like Colorado Trail, if the batteries die and the suspension is stuck open, so be it. It is what it is. Epic 8, highly recommend. Great bike. I had a 2021 Epic Evo before this. Before 120 became trendy, I drove during COVID all the way down to Virginia to get my Epic Evo because I knew it was the bike of the future. And I was right. Now everybody's riding them. So, yep, this is my Epic 8 flight attendant, EXO transmission. Great bike. I got no complaints about this bike. Compared to the Epic Evo, you feel like you're in the bike, planted in the bike, as opposed to riding on top of it like you're on a horse. And much shorter wheelbase. So switchbacks on the Evo, they were a little tricky. You know, you really had to take the outside lines on the switchbacks with the Evo because it was a pretty long wheelbase. Where this thing, you could get in there and take those tight turns no problem. All right, we'll stick this guy over here. And next we'll bring over the gravel bike. It's dirty, so it is what it is, guys. I ride my bikes, I don't clean them too much. So this is my crux. I know if you watch the Bonk Bros and stuff, everybody's got bad stuff. Oh, well, you can't fit mountain bike tires on it. 2024, I bought this bike brand new. I got it at the beginning of 2024. I put 7,500 miles on this bike in 2024. I originally was running 47 mil Pathfinder Pros for a while. And then when I went to Unbound, I switched for a Maxxis Reaver rear and a Maxxis Rambler front for a little bit more mud clearance, 45s. And I never went back. I haven't been graveling as much because 2024, I pretty much lived on this friggin' bike. Like I spent so much time on this bike. So I do want to switch these tires. Now they have the new Maxxis Reaver. I want to say they're called Hyper Speeds in 45s. I'm going to take these off and I'm going to try out the Hyper Speeds this year. So this is the gravel bike. And right now I still have the setup actually that I ran. I switched to this gearing for Endless Mountains in 2024. So I'm running a mullet setup. I got an EXO1 derailleur with a Helix 10 to 52 tooth cassette in the rear with a baby, geez, I want to say that's a 38 or 40 tooth chain ring I got up front just because Endless Mountains, it was a lot of climbing and I had to carry all the gear, so it was a heavy bike. There was no way I was running what I had on there before, a 46 tooth with the 1144 cassette. So I opted to drop the gearing down a bunch. And honestly, I never switched it back because around here we got a lot of climbing too. It's never really flat, so I don't find myself needing that monster chainring up front ever. I mean, how often, unless you're in a pace line, which I don't really do group rides, do you need that monster gear? You know, once you get over 25 miles an hour, 26 miles an hour, I'm spinning pretty fast, but I just don't feel a need for it. So I haven't switched the gearing back. I'll probably keep it like this because, again, I do a lot of bike packing with this bike and a lot of ultra distance stuff. So the gearing works good for me. We'll hang this guy back up. The next bike is the bike that I'm going to bring to Florida, which I'm not going to get too into this because I'm going to have a whole video about this bike and the setup, but I'm waiting on a couple things, and the setup it's not final yet. So this is this is Old Faithful. This bike is a 2020 Epic Hardtail. I just this week switched the original Reba fork that it came with it that's been on there for 6 years now. Never serviced, nothing, but it never failed. Always worked for when I use this bike. And swapped it out for a rebuilt. I sent this fork in years ago. It was off my Epic Evo. When I switched it to Fox, I had sent this to RockShox to have them rebuild it and service the whole thing. And it's been sitting in a box next to my workbench here ever since. So I swapped out the Reba, put this on it, just because if I'm going to ride 400 miles, I know the Reba hasn't broken in all these years, but it's never been serviced, so I figured I'd be better safe than sorry. I just took all these bikes again after changing the fork and getting this one warranty replaced. I went and met with Tim, my bike fitter from Fit First Solutions, and I'll have a video about that coming out too, the bike fit process and stuff. So this is the bike I'm going to run for Florida at the Hurricane 400, which I'll have a video probably next week or the following week where I'm going to give you a rundown of everything that's in the bags, and I might switch it around a little bit. I'm keeping an eye on the weather. I plan on going super light and either straight pushing it, no sleep, or maybe making it halfway, sleeping in a bed at a hotel for 4 hours if I get really tired, and just carrying an emergency bivvy. But Florida's crazy. I'm looking at the weather right now, and most nights it looks like it's low 50s, high 40s at night, which isn't horrible, especially compared to here. It's like springtime compared to here. But like this Friday in Florida, it's going to be 28 degrees. So as we get closer to the race day, if it's going to be cold, I'm trying my best to not run a bar bag or stem bags to keep the bike aero, because there's a lot, well, the whole course is flat, but there's a lot of really fast sections where I'd like to be able to tuck aero and just keep the speed trucking. So I'm going to try my best to keep the bag set up like I have it and carry minimal stuff. But if the weather, makes me do otherwise, I'm going to have to, because I've already made the mistake in the past of not carrying enough stuff and ultimately freezing my my underbits off doing it. So yeah, so we'll get into this bike next week once I got the gear setup finalized. So watch out, Jackie. Jack, my mascot. He's going to be in all our videos, guys, so get used to seeing him. He loves the attention. And he's my basement-dwelling, four-legged fur baby. The dogs are always upstairs. The other cat thinks my bedroom is his room, so he's always laying in my bed, furring up my pillow. And Jack just stays down here all the time. Until the dogs go in their crates at night, then Jack comes up to the couch upstairs. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, I'll have a video coming out pretty soon here about my work with Tim, the bike fitter. And then I'll have a pre-race video for the Hurricane 400 with a little bike breakdown, gear breakdown, everything I carry, nutrition. We'll get into, well, you could tell the nutrition I use, but I'll talk, not a lot, but I'll talk about Carbo Rocket when I get into the whole pre-race video for Hurricane. So, all right, everybody. Me and Jack, we're tuning out.